Welcome to The Game is the Game. I'm your host, Mashal St. Patrick Hewitt. Welcome back for another edition, another episode, another conversation, another deep dive. Call it what you want. But as you know, for long-term listeners of The Game is the Game, this is where I get together with people in various different professions and try and identify what are the kind of key gems, what are the key life lessons they've learned that have helped them along the way. For those of you watching on the visual, because this is a new one, for those of you watching on the visuals, you'll obviously see the different tagging and branding, and you're probably thinking as I've done that intro, what do you mean the game is the game? In the description below, you'll see all the links to what the game is. But of course, those of you who are listening on the audio, you already know. Thank you as ever for supporting the podcast. You know all the admin already. Like, share, subscribe, leave a review, all of that. But let's just jump straight into it. After a long hiatus, by the way, from the game is the game, as I've tried to get different guests together as we go into the new year, I wanted to kind of bring back the podcast, and this is a special one here because I was umming and ahhing about what do I call this one. The obvious thing to call it would be the one with a non-league footballer, but for those of you who know me, you know that I've been watching Bromley specifically since I was 14 years old, home and away. But I didn't want to make it as generic as the one with a non-league footballer because the footballer I'm speaking to today, I think their story and their career arc to me speaks more to career longevity, granted in the sphere of football. And it speaks more to me about what lessons can we learn from their career about staying at the top of your game. I encourage everybody to read the description below, go and click on all the necessary links that I put down in order to find out more about this particular individual and their particular career and what they're involved in off the pitch, as well as, of course, their exploits on the pitch, etc. But without any further ado, after that long intro, let me bring on today's guest. And today's guest is none other than Callum Reynolds, professional footballer at Bromley Football Club. Don't worry, people, this isn't going to be a fanboy version of a podcast just because Callum plays for the club I support. But for those who know the non-league football scene, Callum is very much a kind of stalwart at the kind of top level of non-league football. So this is more than just being a Bromley player. Callum, how are you doing?
Well, after that introduction, I'm feeling on cloud nine. But no, I'm well. It's 27th of December, so them days in between Christmas and New Year that no one really knows of the day. They just give it a name. But no, recovery started after yesterday's game, Boxing Day, which is a good win. But yeah, like we just said off camera, I'm home alone. Which is a bit of a rare thing these days with two kids, a dog and a missus. But I thought perfect time to jump on with you as there's no distractions, even though I just turned the washing machine off. Time is normally better than that, but yeah, we're good to go though.
No worries. And thank you so much, Callum, for coming on. And do you know what? I'm going to start how I start with any guest, because I always say to guests who come on here, you don't know who's listening. You don't know who the episode will resonate with. I won't try and pretend that everybody listening to this will know who Callum Reynolds is. Not everybody will be a football fan, and that's perfect, by the way. So just as a way to intro yourself, rather than me go on a kind of highlight of your careers and all of that, when you meet somebody now, maybe it would have been different 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, but when you meet somebody now and say you're networking in a room, particularly given your other interests outside of football, who do you introduce? Who do you say Callum Reynolds is? How do you introduce yourself?
It's funny because before, like on a night out, obviously when you're younger, speaking to girls, I'd never say I was a footballer ever. Some people use it as like a chat up line as if it's going to get them in the door, but I don't want people to automatically think, because if someone doesn't know you or doesn't know, they just see a footballer. If you don't know football, the only football headlines you see is either something controversial in the news, because rarely these days it's positive news, if we're being honest. And I thought, if you're going to speak to me for who I am. So I had, to be fair, I used to work, I still do it alongside football, work as a personal trainer, and I did work in a gym. So that was obviously an easy line. No one's going to really ask me about working in the gym. But before that, I used to say my brother's an electrician, so I used to say I'm an electrician because, like, if whether it's a boy or a girl, like they're not going to ask me how my jobs are going as an electrician. Do you know what I mean? So I'd like to speak to them as me, who I am. But now I guess I can introduce myself as a dad. When we came on, we were supposed to start at 10:30, and I'm trying to plug the laptop in. I'm trying to download all these new things. So I blame my dad status now for my I'm not up on technology as I used to be. But yeah, who I'd introduce myself as Callum. Yeah, I guess I'm a dad. And yeah, just try and be a good guy.
I hear that. I hear that. And the thing is,
trying to put a tag on myself really, because everyone obviously has an opinion these days, but yeah, I don't want to put myself in just one bracket because I feel like I'm quite diverse as a person. So yeah, not as long as your introduction, but I like to talk as well. So
the thing is, I think you've undersold yourself, but we're going to get into that, right? And actually, even though I just said you've undersold yourself, I do like the fact that you said, "Well, I'm a dad first and foremost," because actually that's super important. Forget careers, forget jobs, forget personal achievements. I like that you center it around, well, actually, I'm a dad, because people can sometimes take things like that for granted. Looking at the football, just first things first, just looking at the football, was there any point in, or if there was a point in your life, at what point in your life did you say to yourself, if not to other people, to yourself, I am a pro footballer? That is my, I don't even want to say primary bread earner, but that is my day in, day out.
it turned real, I guess, when I was 16 and I signed an apprenticeship. Just before, funnily enough, obviously being at Bromley, and when I signed, there was a lad there called Billy Bingham, who's left now. I went on trial to Crystal Palace, and he was in the team. He was my age group. I was 16, so I was doing my GCSEs at school. See, I feel old now because I don't know if they're called GCSEs anymore.
Now they still are. They still are just.
Okay, so I was doing that, but I was leaving early 2-3 times a week to get the train with my dad from Luton's, where I'm from originally. I was getting the train down to Crystal Palace, training in a dome. I want to say it's near the athletics track around there. Obviously, leaving school early, getting home late, and I didn't get offered an apprenticeship there. I was on trial. I remember the first day I went in, I was actually at the training ground, trained with the under-18s. They stuck me in midfield because they wanted to see if I could play. And I'll be honest, I was threading balls through like I was Kevin De Bruyne. And you know, the reaction of the lads, it's almost like the playground reaction, like, right, he's good, like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I'm a centre half though. Like, this isn't my game. But so it started really well. And we played a few games, and as I've grown up and realised that centre half, it's hard to try and impress in a game because, like, I feel like I got a good range of passing. And when I was younger, I used to feel like if I didn't make like some good passes and I wasn't good on the ball, then I didn't have a good game. But obviously, as I've got older, I've realised the less I probably do in the game, the better it is for me. One, because I'm organising people around me. So one, it's making my job easier. And two, if I'm only making sort of 20, 30 actions in a game and more of them are right than wrong, then I'm doing my job. Do you know what I mean? So bringing it back to the question, yeah, I didn't get offered a scholarship at Palace. I remember crying on the train home, crying at the football club. And then, you know, when you're a kid and I could hear other Palace lads on the train and they didn't know I was there. They was like, oh, did you see Callum crying? And I'm like, just dagger to the heart.
Yeah.
So I was at Stevenage at the time, but they had like a college thing. They weren't professional. They were in the conference, it was called at the time. And I went back and I was just angry. Like, I was just like a fire inside me had been lit. And I feel like I deserved to be at the top table. And then I got a call from Rushden Diamonds, who were obviously a big league team back in the day. They were League 2 at the time. They're up Northamptonshire way. And asked me to come and play a game. And at the time, It was like the end of the season. It was played, funny enough, against Luton, up in Rushden. Obviously, I turned up there. There were still third year scholars. I was 16. I was a boy, and I was playing against these men. All I remember was I couldn't breathe. They were physically quicker, stronger, and I just thought, just try and get through the game. Do you know what I mean? Get last 90 minutes. Don't come off like knackered or with cramp or whatever. And I didn't think much of the game. Honestly, I was just thinking, just get through it. And then from that, I got offered a scholarship, and I was thinking, like, yes, like this is it. Professional club, like League Two. So I agreed. I think I signed it, and then they got relegated into the conference that year,
Yeah.
that summer. But to say that was my job, I finished my last exam at school, and all the teachers used to say was, "This is the longest summer you'll ever have because you finish your exams before the school year ends." And
Mm.
then if you go back to sixth form or college, you don't start till later in September. So they're like, "This is the longest summer you ever have." Turned out it was the shortest summer I've had. I had 5 days before I started pre-season training. And I remember my nan used to live in Tenerife, and we used to go there sort of for Christmas and in the summers for holidays. And I just like I think my dad knew I had to get away. So I went with my mum and one of my best friends called Joel. And yeah, we went to Tenerife probably for like 3 days, maybe 3, 4 days. And then yeah, that's when I guess my professional career started. Although there is a gap in between where I played sort of on paper semi-professionally, but yeah, that would have been it. So I was 16, 5 days after leaving school, it was bang. I guess then I was a footballer because it was my job.
Okay, so I'm gonna fast forward then because I didn't expect you to say 16. I thought you might say later, right? And I'll tell you why. When so the first time I actually came across you as a footballer was when you were playing for probably Boreham Wood, because there was a period of time when Boreham Wood were in the National League South that Bromley and Boreham Wood were essentially in and around the same kind of positions. And actually, the year that Bromley went up, Boreham Wood won the playoffs that same season,
Yeah.
and you were in that team, right? And at that level of National League South, even our players as well paid as players would have been, it was still technically semi-pro on paper because teams weren't necessarily all going in, whether it be hybrid 3 mornings a week,
Yeah.
whatever it might be. So I thought you would say you went fully pro once National League football happened. But does that mean that playing, and this is actually an education for people who are listening to this, because there are teams right now, for example, in the National League that Bromley are currently in who are hybrid, right? Teams like
Yeah.
Wealdstone come to mind and Maidenhead, who are kind of hybrid slash part time. Are you full time when you're part time? I guess is what I'm getting at.
No, no, no. But that obviously that scholarship was a full-time scholarship.
Mm,
I was on £40 a week.
mm.
We used to pay £20 a week for food at the club. So technically I was on £35 a week. But it was my job. It's what I did every day. And after it taught me a lot because my first pay packet, I went out, I bought 2 pair of G-Star jeans, a wallet to hold all my money in. And I had about £5 left for the rest of the month. So that was, but it was good. Them times were great because I feel like some of the best times is when you have nothing.
Mm.
Um, we'll probably get on to sort of other places I've been where it's been like that. But I spent a year there and we had 4 managers. The first team had 4 managers in one season. Paul Hart was the first one, and I got onto the bench because the team weren't doing great. Obviously, when you get relegated so I feel like I just go to clubs that get relegated. So Rushden was the first one. I went on loan to Luton after they got relegated into the National League or the Conference, the Blue Square Premier. All the names have changed over the years, but essentially the same league. Signed for Barnet when they got relegated from the league down as well. So there's a bit of a pattern there, but when you're a big team coming down, it's not easy.
Mm.
You're an ex-league team. Everyone wants to beat you. And it was similar at Rushden, bit of a bad start. I played a game. I remember playing a game like a local. I don't know if it was local because we played Tamworth, which is obviously Birmingham way,
Mm.
but some kind of cup game, and I played. And I just remember I played ledge. Everything come off like Cruyff turns around the corners, tackling. I was just, when everything going your way.
Yeah.
Manager was watching, the assistants were watching, and the next day I was training with the first team. So I was like, yes, like 16, no fear, confident. And the first team, looking back, confidence probably would have been pretty low. A few big players that were there. And I went into training and I just didn't give a shit. Like I did everything I wanted to. I think the manager said, like, just be yourself. So I was doing all these things. And it's funny because obviously, and I've done it to young lads that come through when they're flying. And I'm like, you're taking a piss out of me. Like, and the comments started coming from men. I was still a kid, like men, big men. But I just didn't care. Like, I just thought, like, you're not going to stop me. I played my game. And then I got onto the bench for the first team. I think it was Northwich Victoria away. And we lost 4-0. But I remember one time the manager was like, go and warm up, you're coming on. So I'm like, my dad was there. My heart was racing. I'm running. This is back in the day where you get your shirt and it's probably like double XL because it's the only one's left and it's massive. And I put it on and then they just said, oh, wait, like just sit down a second. And I never come on. And I was gutted because obviously I just wanted to play. And on the Monday, he got sacked. The manager got sacked. And I rang my dad. I was like, it's over. I was like, the manager's gone. I was like, I thought my career was done. But having 4 managers that season was a big eye opener to what football can be like. There's no stability or security unless you're playing at the top level, signing a 7-year contract. Most contracts are year to year, especially at this level. But that manager ended up taking me to Portsmouth the season and signing a professional deal. I remember reading at the end of the season because I weren't even playing, I think, reserves by the end of the season. I was back at the youth team and I thought, like, I just thought I was too good for this. Like I've seen what the levels that I can be at. But it was what it was. I just called him for advice. I didn't have an agent or anything. And he said, go in with your parents and say, give me a pro or let me leave. So I was like, okay. So I was fully ready to go do that. And then 5 minutes later, he rang me back and said, what if I could bring you to Portsmouth, who were in the Premier League at the time, because he just got their job as head of the academy there. And I said, oh yeah, that would be all right. Inside thinking like, yes, like do anything.
Yeah.
It's right. He said, don't get your hopes up. Like, keep it quiet. Like, speak to your parents, but I'll try and sort it out. But I can't promise anything. I said, okay. Put the phone down, and I just rang all my mates. I said, I'm going to the Prem. Like, nothing was sorted, but I was like, I'm going to the Prem. Like, it just. And to be fair, he sorted it out. So yeah, I went there and signed straight on a 2-year professional contract. I carried on with the youth team and the reserves in the first year. But yeah, that was crazy. Literally non-league to Premier League in a year, especially after the heartbreak really from the Crystal Palace thing. I felt like this is my chance. And the first game we had in the new season for the youth team for Portsmouth was Crystal Palace away. Can you imagine?
So, when you made that jump, so from a non-league setup or former football leagues team to then the Premier League, I've always wondered this, like, so over the years, Bromley have had players who have made that jump, granted via other teams as well before they got to the Prem. In that journey, or at what stage do you go from being like, right, I'm in a Premier League academy, I'm in a Premier League setup, to then saying to yourself, I'm not necessarily at the level required for. Now, you may have thought you were, by the way. I'm just saying, I'm not necessarily at the level required to kick on here. And then eventually you end up coming back down to the National League. Did you think you could have played some seasons at a higher level before all that? Do you see what I mean? Or is it a case of football is just right place, right time, so on and so forth, circumstances, etc.?
It can be. But no, I remember going down there and 2 of the lads actually came with us. A lad called Paris Cowan Hall, who ended up with a good career. Obviously, he was at Millwall and Wickham. And another lad who actually played for Bromley, Hugo Udoji.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so me and you, we're still best mates now. And yeah, we all went down together. He took 3 of us down there. And when I got there, like, you know what? First day, I was kind of amateur at Rushden. My gym shoes were I found some Stan Smiths that someone had left the year before, and like I writ graffiti on them, like Rushden and Diamonds, and like silly things because
Yeah.
that's what I saw. I saw other lads just wearing like casual trainers for the gym and that. And then do you remember them Nike Rifts with like you could put your big toe
Yeah.
in the thing? So I thought, oh yeah, these are proper gym shoes. Mate, I wore them first day at Portsmouth and we done like fitness tests on like it was on like a tennis court because it was like agility things.
Mm.
And there's zero support in them. I'm nearly rolling my ankle every time I go to turn direction. And I thought, oh, this is a bit. I thought that obviously I was unprepared, but it's just what I knew. I couldn't do one pull up in the gym. Like lads were banging out 3 sets of 10. So that straight away I was like, all right, I need to liven up there. But on the pitch, I didn't feel out of depth at all. Obviously, there was a couple special players, but the general level, it wasn't. I think like Rushden was good. It kind of toughened me up because I was playing with men, and our Rushden youth team, the first years who were then second years, were playing with third years the year before. So like again, like I said, 16-year-olds coming in playing with 18, 19-year-olds that have been playing probably full time for 3 years. Some of them are probably playing first team football. The physicality of it was, I think we'd have beaten them up. It would have been men against boys. But no, in terms of the football, I didn't feel out of place at all. Which probably did give me the confidence. But yeah, it was unreal. I knew I weren't ready for first team there. The first time I went to go train with the first team, I remember I couldn't even in the boxes, just like a bit of fun before training. I say it's a bit of fun. It's not because it gets you switched on and it gets you tuned in. And I'm just seeing these internationals. They roll up. They ain't got their laces tied up. They're just laughing, and I'm like running as hard as I can to try and get it back. And they're just like they're putting it through my legs. And then when I finally win it back, I go on the outside. I probably make one pass and I give it away, and I'm back in. And that was just the boxes. I remember clearly there was a key session, and someone passed it. I can't remember who passed it to me, and I thought, yeah, ledge. I got time. I took a touch, and Sol Campbell came steaming through the back, but he didn't touch me and just took the ball and was gone. And I'm thinking, this guy's like his back is as wide as a door. And I didn't hear him, I didn't see him come in, and I thought like, and that's a defender. Do you know what I mean? He's not someone who comes in and nicks it off your toes. But the more you adapt, the more you train with it, it's kind of sink or swim. And then the more I did start to train with them, you do get tuned in because you get stronger, you get fitter, and it's not as obviously there is a big gap between the top players. But yeah, I feel like I've been unlucky, but then everyone has a story. But yeah, I basically retired for 6 months after I left Portsmouth because I had tendonitis in both my knees.
Right. Okay.
Both patella tendons, and I was fucked. Like I couldn't. Eventually, because when the year they got relegated, so I was there for 3 years. The year they got relegated, a few lads kind of started making the debuts, getting in the squad, and I was thinking, I just wanted a shirt. I wanted a Premier League shirt, my name on, being a squad to say like I was there. But the pain was getting so bad. I didn't want to tell anyone because I knew I'd be pulled out. But eventually, my training was suffering. I was getting home in the evenings. I couldn't go up and down the stairs. I'd sit on the sofa all night with ice on my knees, shuffle up and down the stairs, then go train again the next day. And I knew it was bad, obviously myself, but they took me to go get a scan. And he's an independent doctor, bear in mind. This isn't like a sports or a club one. I've gone to like a private hospital and he's just a normal doctor and he's scanning my knees. It's an ultrasound. And he just said, oh, fuck. And I was thinking, you're not supposed to say that. Like, you can think it like this. When I heard that, I knew it weren't good. And just nothing worked. Like I did so much gym work. I took I had an injection. I think it's called a PCP. They take blood and they inject it into the area to try and heal it. Didn't work. But in the gym, I could get so strong with no pain. But as soon as I train, 1 or 2 days, I'd break down.
Mm.
And my contract was up. Didn't get a new one. But the club kind of had a duty of care to get me fit. But I'm thinking, I can't get fit. I can't go on trial. I can't go on trial and say, can I play a game and not train for 3 days?
Mm.
No one's going to sign me there. And then a new physio come in and he started getting annoyed at me for being there. And I said, I don't want to be here. Like, I actually don't want to be here. I'm coming here. I'm not getting paid, but I need to be fit.
Mm.
And I kind of just ripped my career off, yeah, for a while. And then the last resort, he goes, look, I want you to just take these steroid injections. But from what I heard, especially at my age, I was 19. I thought, I don't want to be getting an injection in my knees at 19. Like, I'm going to be falling apart by the time I'm like mid-20s. I thought you could only get 4 in the same place, like in your whole career. And I'm thinking, if this is the first one now, I later found out you can get 4 in the same place each season. Obviously,
Right.
you don't want to be in that situation, but that kind of, and that thing took the pain away completely, which was obviously a relief to me. And then I signed for Basingstoke because I was living down that way still for the rest of the season, and then in the National League South as it is now. And then the end of that year, I went on a trial game at Kettering Town Football Club. I don't know how it came about or how I went. There was a lot of raw sort of non-league players were there. And again, I just had a worldy day. I was hitting half volleys, switching it, and like everyone was buzzing. And I just thought, I'm not even really trying it. These players ain't great. And I got a phone call to go up to Tamworth, up near Birmingham. And they were in the National League at the time, and they were full time. So I thought, this is like my way back in. And ended up signing there for less money than I was on at Basingstoke at part time. Just because I wanted to be a professional footballer, I didn't want to do anything else. I was living with like an ex-girlfriend. I worked a few days with her dad doing removals. And if anyone's ever done removals, it's one of the worst things ever. There's no satisfaction in it. They might get like a £10 tip at the end of the day, but it's not worth it. It was, and I probably lasted like 2-3 days, and I can't do that. I used to go to the gym every day, just on my own. I used to go to the field like every day with my ladders and my hurdles, like every day. I remember sitting in my car looking at this field once, and it was snowing. And I must have sat in the car listening to music for about probably like a whole album, just psychologically thinking, what am I doing? Like, what am I actually doing? But as soon as I got out there, everything just went away. As soon as if I went to the gym, or as soon as I got on the field and I did my stuff, once I had it done, I used to beat myself up and be like, why didn't you just do that like an hour ago? You could have been home, you could have had a shower, you could be warm. But I kind of had the mindset that I was still a professional footballer because that's what I wanted to be. And Tamworth, so who's obviously our physio, he was the physio at Tamworth at the time.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, so and that was mad. I had no money. I had so I was at Portsmouth, obviously, thought I was flying, got a new car, little Audi A3. It weren't extortionate. I think I was paying like $230 a month. So I wasn't being stupid. But I had to give my car up. I think I gave it to my brother to take over the finance because I couldn't afford to have it. Lived in a house before the house, I lived in a caravan. If you speak to her, she'll tell you the story. I lived in a caravan with 4 other lads. Wasn't supposed to live in there. It was on like a farm. So there was a couple of times the council found out about it, and we got a phone call in the morning saying the council are coming to this caravan, that you have to get out because no one's supposed to live there. So just chuck stuff in the bag, get in the car, and drive to the club and wait there for a few hours so we could go back. I had a hole in the middle of the floor that was covered by a mat. I remember the manager came around one day, stood on the mat, and his leg went through the floor. But you know what? It was one of the funniest, best times that we had. I lived with an African lad called Nabil, who randomly was at Rushden a few years before. He was younger, but he was there. And a couple of lads. One's called Patrick Kinuka. I don't know if he's Nigerian or not, but he played for QPR, had a decent enough career. And a guy called Kieran St. Amy, who again was
yeah.
as a youngster, very promising. And it was good. Them lads taught me to cook, to be fair, with nothing. I used to, well, I say cook. The first dish that the people call it like struggle meals. Kieran was like, let you get pasta and then like Philadelphia cream cheese or whatever. And then remember salmon trimmings?
Yeah.
Salmon trim. And for me, I was like, yeah, we're eating salmon, like salmon pasta. This is right. He taught me how to make stew chicken. And again, just good stuff. I remember we used to go Asda every night at 8 o'clock when you know the little whoopsie.
Oh yeah, when the yellow stickers come on.
Yeah, mate. We
Yeah.
were standing by the fridge and I was eating nice food, stuff that was coming from like either the fishmongers or the butcher bit. So I was eating nice for nothing really. We learned how to make do. But I never really played for Tamworth. Never really played for them. I went on a few loans and did really well. I went on loan to Corby. The first loan, I think I went to a place called Hinckley. I don't even think they exist anymore.
Yeah, Hinkley, yeah.
I played with Andre Gray.
Oh, what, as a striker?
Yeah, the one who was at Luton and Burnley, obviously had a very good career. He got released by Shrewsbury and he used to argue with the manager every week. The manager was like, you're shit, you're never going to make it. He was like, fuck off. Like, he used to just go straight back. And I was like, I've never seen anyone speak back to a manager like that. Like, it was pretty mad. Obviously, he went on to do well. Went on loan at Corby. I remember I had 1 month, I scored 3 goals in 2 games in the FA Cup. So I was flying again, got called back and then didn't play. And it was just, yeah, it didn't really work out. And the last loan was to Boreham Wood at the end of the season. And then they said they wanted to sign me. I had another year at Tamworth, but they said they wanted to sign me permanently. Tamworth was like, you can go. And I was back home. So back in Luton. So I just said, yeah, just do it. And that summer, I wasn't getting paid. I think I maybe done a few days work with my dad here and there. He's got a company fitting kitchens. But again, it weren't for me. I feel like if I was helping a fitter out, it would take them longer to do the job than actually fitters on their own. But obviously dad was looking after me and he was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to sit in the same desk every day in an office, just on a computer. Like manual labor, I don't know. It's just not really me. I like to obviously I like to stay fit and be active. And I went, and he said about doing personal training, and I thought like, and again, you know, if I said I'm a personal trainer, straight away there's an image, isn't there, or you kind of perception of you're either this gym freak or whatever, or you try and tell everyone what to do and what to eat and stuff. So I weren't sure, but I went to I actually went to the job centre to sign on. And they were like, what experience have you got? And I was like, oh, I've played football. And they was like, oh, okay, let me see if there's any football jobs on the system. So they're typing in at the job centre and there was, oh, there's no football jobs on here available. And I was like, yeah, I didn't think so. I said, what other experience have you got? And I was like, I don't have anything. I said, I've only played football. And they was like, what do you like? And I was like, I don't know, I like music, I like clothes. And I was like, oh, let's see if there's any jobs in a clothes shop. So they did this, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, oh, yeah, there's an assistant. It was like, do you have any experience in retail? I said, no. It was like, oh, you need experience in retail for this one. And they said, I think the only job I could get was working in a factory. And I was like, doing what? And they said, packing boxes. And I was like, it sounds shit. And I was like, okay, what do you need for that? There was like, oh, have you got any boots? And I was like, I've got football boots. She said, no, steel toe caps. And I was like, I said, no, I haven't got any steel toe caps. I said, how much do they cost? And she said, I don't know, 60, 70 quid. And I just thought, I'm not going to spend £70 to buy shoes to do something that I don't want to do. So then I kind of made up mind about, I said, I'm just going to work in a gym. There was the PFA obviously helps to support you with courses and stuff. And because I was unemployed at the time, they paid for the whole course.
Right. Okay.
So that was brilliant. So that was one of the other reasons why I think I went to sign on, because they said, are you employed? I said, well, technically no. And they said, if you can prove you're unemployed. So yeah, as a job centre, I just kept asking, I said, when do I get this letter to say I'm unemployed or I'm signed on? Because all I wanted was the letter. I didn't plan on going back there to keep collecting any money. And because it was summer, I think I had a holiday booked. And I was like, oh, what happens if you're not here, like, for a meeting, like, if you're on holiday? They said, if you go on holiday, you don't get any more. And I said, oh, don't worry, I'm not going. I just needed the letter, basically.
Yeah.
So that decision was kind of made for me. I went up to is at Finsbury Park. So I stayed at my dad's in Hitchin at the time. Used to get the train up to Finsbury Park, and it was when the Olympics was on. So it was a good time. It was a good time to be alive in England, to be honest, especially in London. You saw the people rolling around with their purple, like, volunteer outfits, and it's just a buzz, wasn't it? Everything was good. And I did like a 6-week intense course, and then I got started working as a personal trainer alongside playing for Boreham Wood. But I wasn't on a wage. I used to work 10 hours a week unpaid, but then I didn't have to pay them rent. So some gyms, you're a trainer, you just train people when you pay them rent to train in the gym. Or there's like, you work for the gym for a certain amount of hours. You might get
your
paid,
extras on
then
top.
you have to pay them back. But we didn't get paid, but we could train for free. But I only trained 3 evenings a week at Boreham Wood. So for me, I had free use of a gym, and then anything on top was kind of like a bonus, really. And I did that, for probably 3.5 years, 3 or 4 years, maybe, whilst whole time I was at Boreham Wood. So yeah, it was, and then I didn't go back to full time until I left Boreham Wood. Although we went 3 mornings a week, but yeah, to go back full time again, as to say my sole job was when I went back to Aldershot. When I signed for Aldershot. So yeah, there's that gap, obviously, of being professional, but I guess I stayed professional throughout, because I knew what
In a sense, yeah.
I knew what it took to train. I couldn't train in a group, but I could do as much as I could away from football to make sure I was at a level for when I was there.
So let me just quickly touch on Boreham Wood then. So I'm presuming, I don't know if Luke would have been gaffer then. Was it Alice? Was it
Yeah, Ian Allison.
Ian Allinson. Sorry.
Luke was a player.
Yes, that's right. Of course. In fact, Luke might have even been in the promotion side. But
and then he turned into sort of player coach. And then when we went, obviously we got promoted same year as you guys. And then that following year, I think they realized early on, 2 nights a week, we weren't going to cut it. We were doing all right, but losing games. So we went 3 mornings a week. But for me, obviously, I didn't have like a set hours or commitment for the gym. But the gaffer couldn't do it. Ian couldn't do it.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, because he had another job as well. So Luke took over. I think he was only 30 years old that season. He took over as manager, which obviously looking back is a bit crazy. But yeah, so I played with him. I even went to his wedding as well. Like the evening reception, a few of us lads went, and then he became manager, which is tough because I know when you become manager, you have to change. But it's hard. Like, obviously, we used to go out. He was one of the boys, so we used to go out all the time. Like, I've stayed at his house and that, and then become manager, you kind of have to distance yourself a bit, which isn't easy at any age, but especially being that young.
Yeah, with Boreham Wood, because that career arc you've kind of explained is wild to me. Like, you're at Pompey, it's going okay, release, injuries, now you don't know what you're doing. What was it about Boreham Wood that got your career back on track? Or again, that's why I keep going back to this thing of, was it a case of just right gaffer, right club, right place, right? Or did your mentality change? Was it the same mentality all the way through? Because do you get what I'm saying? Like, once you go to Boreham Wood, you have a stable club. You were there for, I think, 4 seasons, maybe a bit longer. So what was it about that setup that really started it for you?
I played at Basingstoke for the remainder of that season. I went on loan when I was Basingstoke when I was young, maybe 17, 18 first. So that's obviously why I went back there. But Boreham was the first club where I was a regular as a centre-back. Again, I talked about earlier about if I didn't make some good passes or weren't good on the ball, didn't have a good game. But as a centre-back, a young centre-back, you don't see at any level really young centre backs that play every week. It's just probably the only position where they're not trusted, maybe like
Mm,
inexperienced, because it is obviously with experience it helps you in that position. But I never like I went on loan to when I went on loan to Luton, I played right back. I played right back and right wing back. I played one game, about half an hour of an FA Cup game. I moved into centre back at home at Kenilworth Road, and everything felt better. Like it just felt right. Do you know what I mean? Like, I played well in that. It was half an hour, but I knew I kind of showed them that I can play there.
mm,
Even some of the lads were like, "Oh, you was quality there," because they must have thought I was just a right back.
mm.
Um, But even yes, Boreham Wood was the first club where I played as a regular centre back. So I had more responsibility, but with that, Luke was good because he used to take training sessions. Him, a guy called Mario Noto as well, is a great
Yeah.
coach. Training was ledge. Obviously, aside from Portsmouth, anywhere else I've been, it was the best training we had. We only obviously it was concentrated. We had what, probably 2 hours a week, a good hour on a Tuesday and a Thursday. But it was quality. I used to I look forward to training any day, but I used to look forward to it. But Luke used to batter me all the time. Um, and I know why, because of ability, and I do it now to young lads. Like I batter them. I'm not as harsh as I used to be because like the game's changed a bit, and you can't say things that you used to. But um, it's because I was good. But I used to fuck around a bit in training because I used to enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? I like to
Mm,
play, um, and I used to have fun, and I still do have fun now when I play. But for Luke, obviously, they had a drive to obviously be successful, and I wanted to be successful myself. Um, but until yeah, it kind of hardened me in a way. A lot of players can't take it like the way that I've been spoke to. But like I don't really care about what people say. If I know I'm doing well, if I'm taking a piss in training, I know sometimes as a youngster, I need to be like sort of reminded. But if you can't take someone battering you standing in a field with no one there, like how are you going to go to a ground where there's, I don't know, 10, 20, 30,000 people like saying mad shit that you probably get arrested for saying on the streets.
mm,
Like if you can't do it with one guy doing it, how are you going to deal with it on the big stage? You know what I mean?
mm,
So,
mm.
yeah, I became a regular player, and then throughout my since I was a kid, since I remember, I've always been captain of teams as well.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I went to Pompey. I was like, well, from a young age, I was always captain, always been a defender as well. My dad was a striker. He used to score goals and that. And I'm thinking, why didn't you put me up front? Like, I would have earned way more money. But you see kids game, everyone just runs around like it's like ants around to food,
Yeah.
the ball. You just see me standing on the edge of the box, even at like 7 aside, waiting for the ball to come and just defend. It's just been in me always to be a defender. But yeah, been captain all youth ages growing up. Then yeah, captain at Pompey for the youth team and for the reserves. And then I got given the captaincy at Boreham Wood. I don't know how old I was, maybe 23.
Mm,
Um, but it's something that it comes naturally. It's not like, oh, I need an armband and then I start acting different, whether I've got it or not. It's just the way I am. I like to talk. Because I think if you don't talk, not even in football, just in life, you don't communicate well, it's going to be harder for everyone. So that's something that's come naturally to me as well. So again, gave me more responsibility. But it's funny, I used to come back every pre-season and the gaffer would be like, Stevenage rung up about you in the summer. And I'm like, why are you telling me this? Like, they made me sign a new contract at the end of the season before. Because I just used to play. I didn't have an agent. I just enjoyed playing.
yeah.
Whatever happened, happened. Each year we kind of got progressively better. And then obviously we got promoted, which was brilliant.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I think that responsibility of becoming a regular player um, was good for my development. Definitely, definitely. And even though it's at that level, there's still you could say people's livelihood sort of on the line. Do you know what I mean? It's an extra income for a lot of people,
mm,
And then if they don't play and then they come out and then they're not offered a new contract, and it's obviously some of the older lads that had families and stuff and other jobs. I didn't have that responsibility. I lived at home. No, I didn't. I lived with my missus, but I had enough money to pay rent and go out on the weekends. You know what I mean? And anything more from sort of personal training, it was a bonus. Do you know what I mean? So,
I hear you. Yeah.
but yeah, definitely becoming a regular player was a good career move, I guess.
Looking without going, I'm not going to go into each club, but one of the things that, and actually, this is probably the reason why I wanted to initially talk to you before I decided on another kind of arc around your career. But you got promoted with Boreham Wood through the playoffs. With Aldershot, you made the playoffs in consecutive seasons. Barnet, when you were at Barnet, I think you went on that fourth round, the FA Cup run to the fourth round. The following season, Barnet made the playoffs. It was a COVID one when it got shut off and they made the playoffs that season. Even with Daggers, I know you didn't make the playoffs, but I think you were one place out from making the playoffs a couple of seasons back. And then with Bromley, it's been playoffs. And again, currently this season, it looks like playoffs at the bare minimum. So a lot of players in their careers don't win things, much less play in teams that have promotions. I know you said you've played for teams that have recently been relegated, but you've also been in what I call successful teams. And I'm just intrigued. And this could apply to any job, any career, but just within the football context, what makes a good squad? What have you noticed from the Boreham Wood experience to the Aldershot one to Barnet to now with Bromley? What is the commonalities that you see for successful teams? Is there a great big science to it? Because I'm now speaking as a fan. What is it just about getting the dressing room right, or is it about having top quality players that are just better than the rest of the league? What have you noticed between all those teams?
Well, first, I haven't been relegated, luckily, yet in my career. So I joined the relegated
Joined relegated teams, not being relegated yourself.
Yeah, like you said, I pride myself on being successful. Like when we got promoted and I was captain, and there's a guy called Ben Martin. He played for Welling. He got promoted for him, big centre back.
The tall guy, yeah. St. Albans as well, I think he played for.
Yeah, and he came in that season to add a bit of experience. He didn't really play, but he come in. I remember when we won, and I was seeing older guys, like someone was crying, and I was like, "Why crying? Like we've just been promoted." And there's a guy called Ben Hurd. I think he played for Wickham. So yeah, and he was crying. I was like, "Why are you crying?" He was probably how old my age now. He was like, "I've never been promoted," and I was like, I didn't really think about it. Then Ben Martin come up to me and he said, he just pulled me. I remember, and he just said, "Enjoy this moment." He said, because some people never get promoted, but he said also to do it as a captain and lift a trophy, like hardly anyone ever gets to do that. So that was nice to hear that, and it kind of made it sink in a bit more. Obviously, I enjoyed it, partied hard, but I appreciated it. It's because it's not easy to get promotion. It's not at all. Like you said, I've hit playoff campaigns a lot of time, and again, I pride myself on that because I don't want to be involved in shit teams. Like I don't. My 2 years at Dagenham was a failure to not make the playoffs. Like it's almost like a stain on my career because I pride myself on being successful with successful teams. And then we get to playoffs, it is a bit of a lottery. You do need a bit of luck when you're in there. But I think the main thing is to have a good group and have a togetherness. And that's hard to get because you can't buy it. Money doesn't guarantee you success either. I mean, Man City now are winning stuff, but look how many years when the money come in, managers, players that come and win, they didn't win nothing. I don't even think they were winning the League Cup.
Yeah.
But to have that togetherness, yeah, every changing room, like the Boreham Wood one, I'm still like really like best mates with the goalkeeper anyway, but good mates with the other boys. Aldershot still speak to like lads there, like we were like brothers. Do you know what I mean? Barnet, first year we were shit, like no dressing it up. We got relegated. John still come in. It just didn't work. But second year, Like Curry got us cooking. You see, half the players now are playing in the Championship and League
Yep.
One. So obviously we were good, but that togetherness we had, like it brought us closer. And at Bromley, like last year and this year, we've obviously got good players, but the dressing room and the togetherness of the boys and that, yeah, I love the lads. Do you know what I mean? And it's hard to say that. There's no dickheads in the changing room. And I think that's massive because there's probably teams. Obviously, there's teams with bigger budgets than us, but there's definitely better players out there. I was talking to someone about this the other day about players, like young lads that were superstars and they were dressed up to it and they don't even play football anymore.
Mm.
And I used to see it when I was younger. I talk about the technical side of the game, players that could do things that I couldn't even dream of. I'm seeing players that can do stuff that Premier League players that I've trained and played with can't do, but they don't play football. And it's not about technical ability. It's more, and again, you talk about not just in football, but in, I think, successful businesses. If you have a team that's together that wants to work for each other, whether you're the main man or not, like you're all pulling in the same direction. And it's definitely a mentality thing. Whatever thing you're into, it's the mental game. If you can get your mind right and apply yourself to anything. Because kind of I went to first when I went to Palace on trial, I think Andy Johnson was there. He'd just come back from England, and I was a bit like, like these are Prem players.
Yeah.
I remember the coach said, I can't remember exactly who it was, but he said, you ain't got time to be nervous. Like you're on trial here. And I guess everything you do in life, you're on trial, aren't you? Because you're always being judged. You're always how your performance is going. And then obviously at Portsmouth, I got to know a few lads a bit more personally. And I was like, they're just normal people.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're normal people. You only see them on the TV performing. They're obviously extremely talented at what they do, but like anyone is an unbelievable singer. You sit down with them in a room, they don't just sit there singing to you the whole time. Like if you speak to them, everyone is you're born with nothing. You start with nothing. It's just what you make of it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. Interest. So slowly but surely bringing this to an end. Thank you so much for giving up so much of your time, Callum. So at this stage of your career now, and you know what? At the start, I said, "Oh yeah, I think this one's about how you stayed at the top of the game." I'm changing. I've decided whilst you've been talking. I mean, like now I'm changing the title of this. I think it's going to be something about persevering and perseverance. I need to decide now what I'm calling it. But you're now a senior pro. And by senior pro, I mean 30 plus. You're still playing at the top level. Bromley are second in the National League, only behind Chesterfield, who essentially are bookies' favourites for the league anyway. And what intrigues me, and I've spoken to Byron Webster about this as well, so just intrigued how you look at it as well. You're both in the kind of mid to late 30s, right? How do you still stay? What drives you to still get up each morning? And by no means am I trying to suggest that you get where I'm coming from. What drives you to still be like, yeah, I'm still playing at the top level. I'm still hungry for a promotion. I'm still hungry to be the very best I can be. I'm not saying that society writes footballers off once they get to like 33, 34, etc. But certainly it's almost like there's this inbuilt thing amongst fans and media to be like, well, can they still do it? Right. Have you had to battle that, or is your kind of internal strength of character so strong that you're like, I'm still playing some of my best football? Like where's your drive? Where's your motivation?
Just love of the game. Like I love football. I love playing football. Whatever I'm doing. Like in lockdown, I used to play head tennis with one of the boys on the tennis courts, and I'd want to beat him. I play my brother. I want to beat him at anything. But I love playing football. It's just, it doesn't matter where or who with. And then the love of the game, and then the other things come along with it. Because if I want to play, I want to be the best that I can be. And a lot of things are out of control in football, like a lot of things. But if I can control what I can control, to allow me to be the best, like I set up a business to help my recovery,
Mm,
and I use it every day, obviously. And so it's something that I'm passionate about as well, because one, I know it helps me and it can help others. Um, but yeah, if I'm going to do something, try and do it to the best of your ability. Do you know what I mean? Give everything you've got. And I think, yeah, that's my drive. I don't want to turn up to work every day and just be average, just pick up my money and go home and whatever. Like, take pride in what I do. But yeah, the main thing is the love of the game. If you didn't love it, and some people don't, which is fine.
mm.
I love what I do. So, and I think in anything you do, if you love it and you enjoy it, that's how you're going to get the best out of it. Because you can have someone who's so ultra talented, but if they don't love it and they don't want to do it, you're never going to get the best results, are you?
When you look back over your career thus far, this might be a bit of a difficult question, but I don't know. Do you? I'm not doing the cliched one of saying do you have regrets. I don't actually mean that, but I guess what I do mean is, do you look back and go, I definitely made the most of my ability, or do you look back and think, I could have, if this had gone right, I could have done X and Y and so on and so forth? Or do you now look and go, you know what, based on the circumstances I was dealt, I've made a kind of a good go of it.
Yeah, no, I definitely. It would have been nice if things went a bit differently. Like I said, I played in the youth team. We had an unbelievable youth team. So I used to play centre back with Joel Ward,
Yeah.
who's obviously a hero at Palace now. He's captain. He's played the most ever Premier League games for Crystal Palace. I got Matt Ritchie, who's at Newcastle. Again, still one of my good friends. Marlon Pack, who's just gone back to Portsmouth. Again, had a great career, most of it in the Champ. But it's just circumstances. Like, I had a lot of it is timing. Obviously, I had them injuries, but the timing of the injury was the end of my contract. Do you know what I mean? If it was at the beginning of the year and I come back and I prove fitness and whatever, it obviously could have been a lot different. But yeah, I've tried to make the most out of what I have. That game again is about opinions.
Mm.
Um, and if someone likes you, or if someone doesn't like you, that can be the difference between signing somewhere and not signing somewhere. Again, there's talk of like there obviously is agents and that can help you and work for you. But there's also people out there that are trying to stop you, which is mad. People don't realize that about in football. And you can never know it's happened. Someone can make a
Mm.
phone call asking about you, and they could badmouth you and put in the worst word ever. And it can stop you from progressing or moving. Which is why I love football, but I don't like a lot of people involved in football.
I
So I
hear that.
love the game, but there's a lot of people try and ruin it. But it's but yeah, I've always tried my best. I know I'm good enough to have played higher, and I still think I can play higher. Hopefully I can, but if I don't, I won't feel like sad about never playing like in the football league or like never being on FIFA. You know them, like when you're younger, I was like, oh man, I want to be like, just to say to my lads, like, yeah, obviously Football Manager, my mates have signed me and given me good contracts, but yeah, like I feel like you said, to last at this level for so long, it's definitely an achievement in itself, because I've seen people come and go throughout this whole time that I've been here. To be fair, I think it's just me and Cheeks, probably the only ones left standing that haven't probably played higher in the
Yeah.
league. But he's a record goal scorer at this level, so you can't say he's not good enough to make the step up. But listen, see what happens this year. It would be a great thing to sort of write our own history. But yeah, now I have, like, yeah, I guess I don't have regrets. Obviously, it would have been nice for things to happen, but then everything happens. Everything happens for a reason,
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad, and it's shaped me to be the person and the player that I am today. So there's definitely, I've definitely enjoyed the ride for sure.
So I'll kind of close it with this then. As you kind of made mention of it a couple of minutes back, but so you currently run Pro Sports Recovery,
Yeah,
and I mean, I mentioned that because that's something you do, but I also mention it because as much as the top tier of non-league football is a professional league and should ideally be called League Three rather than the National League, once players, or sorry, it's not even about an age thing. I always say that football players should always be thinking about, so what's the next step, right? How and when and how did you start to think? Was this by chance, or was it? I mean, I briefly know the story, but what I mean is like based on your career and kind of what you've seen from other footballers who have probably left the game now and through your journey, when is the right time to think about the transition for after football, particularly if you're not directly staying in the game?
yeah,
If that makes, because not everybody can be a coach, a manager, a scout, a
yeah.
this or a that, right? Some people have to leave the profession after they have retired. So, based on your experience and what you've seen, how do you manage the transition?
I'm still learning how to manage it.
Mm,
Because I knew from even I think when I was younger, and I see obviously professional players. When you say professional players, they're professional, but the hours that you spend training are like well throughout a day, like tiny, maybe an hour to 90 minutes on the field, and in the gym no longer than 45 minutes. So just over 2 hours a day. You have a Wednesday off as well, remember, and a Sunday. But so the rest of the time you have like 20 odd hours a day. Obviously, you're going to sleep and eat and stuff, but you have a lot of time. And when I was younger, and I used to hear about people and players that would study and do stuff outside of football, and I used to think, like, how have they got time to do that? Like, I used to obviously go football, maybe go in the gym, go home. I used to sleep every day. I still sleep now on the train because
mm,
I ain't got time to sleep at home anymore in the afternoon with the kids. But I'm thinking recovery. So I sleep when I get home, wake up, then I have dinner. And I used to think, how can you use up more mental energy if it's not going towards football?
yeah.
And obviously, as you get older, you realize that there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of time away from football. And when I went to Aldershot, because we went full time, like I said, full time again. I was home. I used to live down there with a couple, so I didn't live with a girlfriend, weren't with parents or anything. I was 5 minutes from the training ground and the stadium, so I'd finish training, I'd finish gym or whatever. I'd be home by like 1:30, 2, and again I'd have
Mm,
my sleep in the afternoon, and then I just found I had so much free time, and I started reading more there because the guy used to have some books. He used to love football as well. So I started reading. I probably read like a book a month because I had enough time to read. And then I used to think, what do I actually want to do after football?
mm,
Because I can use this time to start studying, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do. Again, we talked about earlier. I can't see myself sitting in the office. I like being around people, talking and helping people as well. I like a kind of fitness environment, if you like. Personal training is not a you got it's just volatile because you can have someone and be like, yeah, they train me every week. This is my income, blah blah blah. Then they might move job, they might move house, they might
mm,
decide they don't want to train no more. So that's one income cut off. So that's a bit ruthless and it's not guaranteed income. So I didn't see that as a career like long term, although I do it along the side because it's brilliant because you can do 2 hours a week and still pick up a bit of extra pocket money. And I just thought, like, I don't want to do like a long distance 4 or 5 year uni course because if I get 1 or 2 years into it and I'm like, this isn't what I want to do, like, I don't want to waste my time doing that.
mm.
And a lot of people used to ask me, like, "What are you going to do after football? You know, it's football." And I'm like, "I don't know. Like, I don't know what I want to do. I want to do something, but I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know if I want to be a coach or a manager." When I was younger, I thought, yeah, definitely. But I think there's too much politics in football now. There's nothing to do with your job as a coach,
Mm.
especially a manager. Like, obviously, I speak to the gaffer at Bromley probably more than I've spoke to other managers, even being captain. Um, and when he took over, I think his mate rang him and just said, "You're a fireman now." And he was like, "What?" He was like, "All you do now is just putting out little fires everywhere." And it's true for him. The things and the people that he has to deal with, that's nothing to do with football. And I just think I, I couldn't have that draining on me. It might change as I get older. I don't know, but obviously, like I said, I love the game. So whether I could become like a fitness coach or whatever, but the business came about. So yeah, for years, I thought about it and I knew, and I had this free time, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, and I felt like I should be doing something, but again, society now, I feel like with this social media, it's like if you're not grinding 24/7, it's like, why are you sleeping when you could be working? Like, it's not that's not how it works anyway. Like, because one, I know sleep is the most important thing. 'Cause if you don't sleep, you can't function. But
Yeah.
and and then the lockdown come, and all of a sudden everything was taken away. I say everything, materialistic things were taken away. You still had um control over what you ate and what you watched and how you exercised. And
Mm.
because of my knowledge, I carried on exercising and I got super fit just from training my body weight and doing like little things at home. Um, and then obviously gym equipment was like at a premium because people that didn't have it wanted to get hold of it. And my girlfriend's brother, he worked for TUI, so he was always traveling. He just got a 2-year contract in Mexico, was about to fly out. COVID come, and with TUI, if your contract hasn't started, or even if you're in a contract and you can't work, it's just chopped. You're not like it's not like a permanent thing. You're just
Mm.
working as and when. So he came back home and started working for his friend, and they used to hire out gym equipment. So treadmills, cross trainers, rowing machines, like all kind of cardio stuff, like spin bikes and stuff. So I said, oh, like I want to get a bit of equipment, and I'm thinking I don't want to sit on a bike every day, not going anywhere because I can ride a bike around outside.
Mm.
Um, I ain't really got the space. It was nice. I had a 2-floor flat, so I had space, but I don't want a cross trainer. They're crap. You kind of just don't feel like you're going nowhere.
Yeah.
So how can I get a rowing machine? Because I know from working in the gym as well, the closest I've got to death is on a rowing machine exercising. So I know it's full body. You get your legs, your arms, like gets your cardio and stuff. And I hired a rowing machine. I think it was £40 a month. So I'm like,
Mm.
it's a gym membership anyway. So I used to smash it. Like my girlfriend used to smash it. I used to put it in the communal stairs. So like,
Yeah.
and I used to say to people in the flats, like, if you want to use it, like just jump on. It's there every day. And then I started doing boot camps and stuff outside when it was like small groups and stuff. And then from that, I got back into the personal training side of things. I said, look, if anyone wants one-on-one sessions, like I can train you from home or train you in the park and that. But then in my head, when I used to speak to a brother, and I said, what kind of people are hiring these machines, like gym equipment? And he said, every house I go to is massive. They're all rich people. And I'm like, why aren't they buying them? And he said, rich people don't buy stuff because they just hire it. And he said some of them hire them for 2-3 years. They could have bought one and it would have saved them money. But just the responsibility of having a machine, if it breaks or anything goes wrong, or with hiring it, if it breaks, someone comes and repairs it or recovers it or takes it. And when you're done with it, you're done with it. And I was
Mm.
just, so it got me thinking. And then I signed for Dagenham and they had one of these machines, which is called a Normatec. And if for anyone that's not seen it, it's kind of like you end up looking like the Michelin Man. So you have these 2 leg sleeves. Well, there's legs and there's hips and there's arms, but the main one I use the legs. So it's like a sleeve. You pull it on, you plug it in, and it fills up with air, and it replicates a massage. So when you massage, I know this before because my mum works in like a beauty place, and she's had to practice on me. But you massage towards the heart because it pushes away your older stagnant blood, and then obviously the release of fresh blood comes through. So that's how it regenerates. And when there's fresh blood flowing through any limbs, that's when you're healing, you're repairing and recovering. So I came across these normative, and I'd only seen, so I support Chelsea, so I follow them on social media, and a few other big, like, top professionals. Off the top of my head, LeBron James, obviously, not probably, he's statistically the best ever NBA player. He's had him on. I see Gareth Bale have him on. Neymar had him on. So like, we're talking top superstars, and I'm thinking, how can I get hold of this equipment? And anyway, Dad had a machine. It was an old one, but it effectively did the same thing. And I used it one day and I couldn't believe how good I felt. Like my legs, I just felt so fresh.
Mm.
And every day I was like, can I take it home? Like, can I take it home? Other players wanted it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I've got it at home. Because I used to use it every day. And I couldn't believe how, easy it was and how convenient it was.
Mm.
But also, it's quite an expensive equipment. So it's £1,000 or £900 to get a new machine. So in my head, it was like that light bulb moment. And where I've been reading, when you have inventors and stuff, it's not like the light bulb moment comes, but then everything from there is hard work and arise. It's not like, oh, I've just invented this thing and it works. Like that's that's like the spark, and then you have to keep the flame alight. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So yeah, in my head, I was thinking, I want to provide this for people because I want them to have top professional recovery methods, but at an affordable price and a convenience to them. So you can use it like I could have it on now. We're having a chat, you wouldn't even know. So the convenience of having it in your own home or taking it in a bag with you as you travel, but being affordable. Because there's always there's a marathon every year, like there's local park runs. Fitness is becoming, obviously, which I'm glad, a bigger thing now. It's being more aware. So there's ultra marathons. People do where you swim, cycle, run, but not just that. Any sports, like you play golf, you play cricket, you play tennis. Like it's and recover. I realized recovery. Like I said earlier, you only train as a top professional for maybe no more than 3 hours a day physically. So what you do with the rest of your time, that's going to make you better when you perform again. And recovery is, if say 3 hours a day, was it 3 times 8? So an eighth of your day is spent working. You've got 7/8. So like nearly, well, say 3/4 of your day to recover. Sleep is a big portion of that. But what else can you do?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I had this idea to provide this on a shorter term or sort of medium term hire. Because if someone's running a race, they just want to recover the next week or the next weekend, I offer to hire on a weekend or a week basis or a month. Or if they wanted to do longer, they could do longer. And yeah, the idea kind of sparked. And I remember it was Black Friday 2 years ago. And obviously there's a deal on. I think there was, say, 20% off. So I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to buy 5. So I get 1 for free, basically.
Yeah.
And this will be the start of my stock, the start of my business. So I bought it off a website, not even the main, who the company is. So the company's called Hyperice, because Normatec, I couldn't find them online. And I'm thinking, are they one of these companies that have no PR and advertising? Like Five Guys, like, they're there and they're talking about it. They just couldn't find it for anything. And then obviously I was searching and I found out Hyperice, who have other recovery products, they basically bought the company out. The product is Normatec, but the company that owns it is Hyperice. And I bought it from just a random website that sold them. Anyway, these 5 boxes turned up in my house. And the first thing I thought was, can I even legally do this? Like, am I allowed to do this? So obviously did a bit of research and I found out who the head marketing or sales or person was in the UK. It's an American company, but I rang him and I said, like, listen, I've got an idea. This is what I want to do. And he was like, so what, do you want to be a reseller? And I said, not really. Like, I can resell them if people want to buy them, but I said, I want to hire them out. And he said, oh, that's a great idea. He was like, no one's ever asked me to do that. I was like, can I do that? And he said, yeah, like once you buy it, you own it. So what you do with it, he said, as long as you're not reselling it and undercutting us, like, then you can basically do what you want, charge what you want. So I was like,
Yeah.
so then, and I said to him, I was like, can I buy them from you? He said, yeah, I can give them to you. Like, obviously I can sort your deal out at cost price. So then them original 5, I sent them all back. And I said, oh, I had a business idea. I said, it's not worked out. I said, like, obviously something's come up, blah, blah, blah. And like, so I returned them. So then I bought them from this straight directly from the supplier, from the company. And it's funny because anyone is thinking about starting something, there is never, ever the right time to start.
Yeah.
There can be a better time and a worse time to start. But so I tried to start this company, and I've just had a baby. And so since I started the company, I've now got 2 children. So I've got my hands full with it. So obviously I work on it when I can, but I'm not too precious. I'm not someone who stays up till like early hours, like racking my brains. I've obviously got ideas and I'm just trying to build it up alongside playing, luckily, which I can. But yeah, if you want to start something, it's funny because you have these quotes and that you see every day, but like everyone's like, oh, one day I'm going to start. But it's like day one, not one day, like day one is when you start, because you have to build your own momentum. People, like, nothing's handed to you unless you're born into probably the royal family, and but that comes with its own problems. But you have to, no one's going to do it for you. So you just have to start, and then you build your own momentum, and the more you do, and at the start as well, you make mistakes, because if you don't, you won't learn. Like I said, the first mistake I bought 5 machines from a company that wasn't even the main company, and I realized that I could get it cheaper. So that was a good first mistake to make. And yeah, so I'm just building it up alongside, but it's not just. I'm probably going to create a few other companies under the kind of umbrella of it, because pro sports recovery, if someone's not a professional, they might think, oh, it's not for me. I have the hashtag is recover like a pro. So you don't have to be a professional, but you can recover like a professional.
Yeah.
Because the original person, the physician or doctor that designed them, was for post breast cancer patients.
Okay.
So I don't know what it is physiologically or biologically, but after having breast cancer and treatment, the legs were really swelling and circulation wasn't as good as before. So that was what the original design was for. Obviously, it's been refined since then. And the main people, obviously the company, the main face of Normatec and Hyperice now is Haaland, who you could argue last year was this one, but he won everything. He was the top scorer in everything. So like they have the athletes there that kind of promote it. But like I said, it's safe for pregnant women to use. So again, and I'm thinking, and that's why I was looking at the hire, because the repeat business was the model that I'm not like a salesman. Like when I worked in a gym, Herbalife blew up, and everyone's like, sign up, sell it to your clients. They're going to do this, going to do that. And all my people I used to train used to ask me, like, what about Herbalife? I see these people taking it. And I said, to be honest with you, I said, it's dog shit. I said, just eat good food, move your body. This is just like a fact. I said, I don't want to take money from you. Like, I don't want to make money doing something I don't believe in. Some people can sell anything just to make money quick, but I'd rather help someone like properly in something I believe in, rather than just. So again, like it's safe for pregnant women to use, and again, like obviously women are always pregnant, but again, this is where something that I'm learning, and I've had a kind of mentor, this business mentor, that's helped me, which has been brilliant, because he said you can create this company, because I'm thinking of names before that, like, oh, what are people going to grab their attention? And he's like, look at all the big, like Coca-Cola. It's just a name. It's
Yeah.
a drink. Like people associate now with that drink, but it's a fizzy. Nothing in Coca-Cola says it's a fizzy drink that tastes good. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
don't worry so much about the name. It's like the product.
Yeah.
So I can create another company doing the same thing, but say targeting like if you're pregnant women, because obviously that's a problem some of them encounter. They get a lot of swelling in their legs. Like it's safe to take on planes. So people that travel a lot, and it's like you can take it on as like hand luggage. It's like safe to
Yeah.
take on the plane. Like my granddad, he has like a heart condition. He's on blood thinning tablets because he has swelling and water retention in his legs. Like he's used them, he's loved them. I've got I've actually only got, I always keep one back for myself, but the rest are all out at the minute. One is one of the boys at Bromley, actually. His dad's just had a double knee replacement, so both legs. So again, post operation, he can't walk, but you can sit on the sofa, whack your legs on, and whatever, you can work on your laptop, you can make calls, you can watch TV, but whilst you're relaxing, you can also get the benefits of the recovery whilst you're doing it.
Mm.
And like I said, you spend, again, you see stuff on social media, and it's like, oh, you got to work hard. You got to work hard in the gym, this and that. Like you can't spend 10 hours in the gym every day. Like physically, you can't do it. But you can recover in between to make what you do in the gym then more efficient.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a whole side of it that I want to try and build. Just keep building it up, because the potential is kind of unlimited. There's no one that can't use it. Like someone with a pacemaker is safe to use because it's not invasive technology. It's just on your legs, it's pressure, and it's completely unique. You can adjust the pressure, so you can have it as a low pressure, so it's a bit calmer. Obviously, I whack it up high because I enjoy like a bit of a deeper massage and a bit more, something a bit harder on my legs. But there's different sections in it as well. So there's like the feet, your calves, your knees, and your thighs. So again, if someone cycles and you come off your bike you might be a casual cyclist, or you might do races. You finish your session and you're back home, or you're in a hotel or whatever. You can whack them on, stick on, like target the thighs, and you can be having your dinner whilst getting a mass. Like it's so convenient as well, and I want to bring it at an affordable price to people as well. So yeah, effectively they can recover like a pro, whether you are. I actually gave one to my hairdresser this week because he was working. I went in last Wednesday, just to get the pre-Christmas trim, and I saw on his Instagram, goes, "I've started the first of 3 days. I'm working 9 till 9." And I'm like, you're on your feet all day long, and he might not have time to go to the gym and have a stretch, or just get home and you can't be bothered to have a stretch. Do you know what I mean? Because you have to physically try. Whereas this, he can just sit on his bed or on the sofa, whack them on, and recover. So yeah, there's a lot. Obviously, there's a lot of benefits for it physically, but also the mental side of it. Like you can just switch off. You can go to sleep with them on. You can read a book. You don't always have to be doing something, like people say, because your physical as well as your mental recovery, I think they definitely go hand in hand. So yeah, that was the idea. It kind of came about, I guess lockdown kind of pushed me towards it. So yeah, that's the business, Pro Sports Recovery. And yeah, we hire out Normatex, which is compression therapy, a massage, for anyone that doesn't know. But yeah, obviously over the socials, I need to work and learn on building them up and posting and just getting the information out there, because there's a lot of people that I know that I can use as contacts to help spread the word. But yeah, so that I kind of fallen into that really alongside playing, and we'll see where it goes.
For real, for real. And for those listening, if you want more information on that, please read the descriptions below. I'll put all the different links to the various things that Callum is involved in. You can go have a read, go have a look, etc. Get in touch with Callum, etc. around that. And do you know what, Callum? As I now officially wrap, that's it's weird, because when you kind of track the story then from the beginning of this podcast to now coming to the end, you probably, and it sounds cliche to say it, but you probably don't end up starting pro sports recovery and the concept around that if your journey doesn't go the way it went. If you see what I mean, if
Yeah.
things had worked out the way you wanted them to work out, whether at Palace, whether at Pompey, whether the tendonitis hadn't been there, you possibly don't come round now to this particular arc where, as your football career is still ongoing, you have a kind of subsidiary idea that you are going to be working on as the seasons continue, so to speak. So it kind of speaks to that notion of there is, and I like that line you said about there is no day one, or I think that's what you said. There is no perfect
Just
time
one
for it
day,
to
yeah,
start.
but
Yeah,
it's make day one
yeah.
start. Yeah.
Exactly. So I guess as a way to just officially end, and you've done it already really throughout the episode, but now when you kind of look over everything, football wise, career wise, professional wise, whatever it might be, what are the kind of key things that, say one of your children, for example, decided to, it doesn't even have to be getting into sport, it's just a career, right?
Mm.
What are the key things that you've kind of learned that you would say pass on to them or anybody else listening to this and say, you know what, wherever your journey goes, keep these particular things in mind? Are there some key kind of gems that you've learned along the way?
You got to enjoy it. It doesn't mean every day is going to be the best, because there's some days that you don't enjoy. But a good thing that I read as well, also, especially with kids, like I'm still learning to be a dad every day. And they said whatever they do, whether it's playing an instrument or they're interested in learning something or a sports, don't ever let them quit on a bad day.
Mm,
Um, because you're going to have bad days, but I think the bad days make you appreciate the good days more. And just always know that you've tried your best, because you won't always perform at your best, but if you know that you've tried your best, that's what you can control.
mm,
You always want to have the perfect game, but in life's not fair, and things ain't going to go your way. But obviously you learn as you go along. But definitely you need to be adaptable, whether that's adapting to a situation that comes up, adapting to people that you work with. I don't know how I became this way. Obviously, probably for as I grew up and where I grew up in Luton, very diverse, multicultural area. And I learned how to be with different people, which probably why made me a captain. And I would say I'm a good captain because I know how to speak to people, and I know when to listen as well. And I know how to speak to people. So someone, like I said, they might need a rocket up their ass, or they might need an arm around them. Do you know what I mean? And it's if you can learn to do that, it will help you to get along. But the main thing is, yeah, enjoy it and enjoy working hard and always try your best.
mm,
And like when I used to go in the gym, I always say, and I always say to people, like, you never regret like a hard workout. You know, like if you try your best, you never regret it. You know, if you go out for a run or you go to the gym and you kind of half-ass it, like in my head, I just think, why? If you're gonna do something, give it everything you've got. And if it works out, great. And if it doesn't, it wasn't meant to be. Just know that you've given your best.
Listen, Callum, thank you so much. I don't need to add anything further.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. The Game is the Game. For those of you who have been listening on the audios, like I say, thank you so much again for listening, vibing with the episode. Thank you for Callum for coming on. Please make sure you look at the description below, people, to find all the different acts and addresses and information that may have piqued your interest in this particular episode. Like, share, review, subscribe, all of that stuff that people say on podcasts. And for those of you who are watching on the visuals for the first time ever for a Game is the Game episode, again, you know what to do if you're watching on the visuals, etc. And also read the description below. Callum, thank you so much once again for coming on, giving up your time If Bromley had lost yesterday, I would have been intrigued to know if this still would have happened as an episode.
No,
as
it would have. Do you know what's funny? I went on the lads. Do you know Femi and Jamal at Boreham Wood?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And Beyond the 92, and I was one of the first guests on there, and it was after we just played Barnet. So second game of the season on the telly, we just lost 2 on the bounce, and they were so happy. I think they just won. Jamal had scored and that, and it was asking all these things and that. And I said, like, obviously we haven't started how we wanted to, blah blah blah. But since then, I think we've only probably lost two games. So yeah, like I said, you're gonna have good days and bad days. But if we'd have lost, now, still come on. Because never too high, never too low.
Listen, I was at the game, just going, yeah, hold on to this one, please. Just the episode.
I was thinking the same thing as well. When that last block and the deflection just span over my head for a corner, I thought, oh, come on. Like, Cousins coming up for the 3rd time after scoring the week before. I thought, not again, please. But no, we made it through. We made it through yesterday. We made it through today.
For real. And as you said, who knows where your particular season and Bromley season may well end this season, given how they're doing so well this year. But thanks, like I say, Callum, for coming on. For those of you who've been listening,
for having me on again, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, it was great to talk to you and share some of my knowledge.
No worries, man. Thanks everyone for listening to The Game is the Game. I've been your host, Mashal St. Patrick Hewitt, and join me next time for another one.